Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio, Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your host, as always, George. I want to thank you very much for listening to today's show. I hope you're all well. Hope you're enjoying the lovely hot weather. I'm certainly not. I don't suffer from hay fever, but my nose is absolutely blocked up as anything, and I do not like it. I love summer, but not hay fever. That can go away. But hold on, move away from my issues I'm suffering at the moment from. I want to introduce the co-host always, who's just laughed at my issues that I'm suffering from with my hay fever here. It is our resident is a town fan, as always. It is Dan. Mate, how you doing? Long time no see. Lovely weather. No football, unfortunately, for the lovely weather.
No, football has to happen in the cold weather, doesn't it? Unfortunately, but yeah, I'm decent. Yeah, good to be back. It's kit release day,
Yeah.
So you got to be happy.
Yes, you've got to love it. It's the annual day, which we never know what day it happens on, but when it does, it's a beautiful day. But we'll get onto that a little bit later on the show. But what is our social media as well? That's a good question. I should ask that myself one day. It is Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitcher, YouTube. It's got both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to start our pre shows, do not worry, all up there on YouTube and Mixcloud. And what is coming in today's show? Well, we've got a bit of an interesting show today. We're going to be talking about England on tour in the Nations League. Yes, they played 4 games in the space of 10 days? Was it 10 days? Yeah, it was 10 days.
Yeah.
10 days. I was going to say 2 weeks, but it was actually 10 days. And in the space of 10 days against Hungary, Germany, Italy, and then Hungary again. We'll have to see what happened in those 4 games, which have been very heavily publicised. So you might know what has happened, but don't worry. We'll talk about it anyway. And we'll be talking about Ipswich Town. We've had plenty of news. As Dan's alluded to, we had kit release day as well. 2 new contracts signed. And the pre-season games have been announced. Not the league fixtures just yet, but the pre-season games are here. And they look very good, especially like the kit. But we'll get onto that a little bit later on. But when we come back, we'll be talking about England on tour in the Nations League. Don't go anywhere.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your host, as always, George, joined by my co-host as well, Dan, for another week of football action here on Pitchside Talk. And now, before we move on, talk about England on tour in the Nations League. I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube is both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any previous shows, do not worry. All up there on YouTube and Mixcloud for you to have a listen to. Now, the club football season may have come to an end, but to fill the void of not having football on a weekly basis was the Nations League. Yes, the glorified friendlies with a trophy at the end was back. I'm sorry, but that is a true analysis of what the Nations League really is, unfortunately. Dan, would you agree with me? I have to ask you.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. But we had some football and we had the Nations League game to see who would take the crown away from France, or would we see France defend their crown? Or could we see this England side steal the crown away for the first time? But they had a difficult task on their hand with a group in Group A3, which included Hungary, Germany, and Italy. And they played 4 games in the space of 10 days and had England players off for the last 2 weeks partying away. We've seen all the parties, don't worry about it. But England kicked off their campaign on Saturday with a away day trip to Budapest to Hungary, which this game was supposed to be played behind closed doors, but yet it was played in front of a large crowd of school children after UEFA rules. I don't really know how that works, playing a game behind closed doors, but having it in front of a crowd of school children. A little bit wishy-washy in my case. But for Gareth Southgate's side, England got off to a losing start after conceding a penalty after a very, very disappointing and leggy performance from the Three Lions. Dan, a very disappointed, I think, England performance after that highly impressive run through the World Cup qualifiers. they lost to Italy in the Euros final, but they hadn't lost a game that's not in a competition since November 2020 against Belgium. But were we sort of expecting this type of performance after the extremely long season that players have had, and then having that sort of time away, not playing football, not training? But what will be very concerning for Southgate was that sloppiness and that lack of spark from his Three Lions.
Yeah, it was a really frustrating performance, wasn't it? And I think you come up against the team that you'd say on paper are the easiest to beat out of the three teams you got. It didn't turn out that way, did it? Yeah, a poor performance. I think the tiredness, it really showed. I mean, this game, well, I think all four of the games really in this Nations League, it's so soon after the season's finished, isn't it? And you get the sense that the players don't want to play in it after such a long season. It's going to be difficult for them with fitness, but you don't want to make excuses, because it was a very, very disappointing performance for England. Lack of goal threat. We didn't look like scoring for the whole 90, really, did we? It just weren't any chances being created at all. I think Southgate is right in his analysis of it. It was just so poor, and not what you, as you say, not really what you expect of this England side. But then, on the other side, you look at this type of game after a long season and what competition it is. Maybe you do expect that type of performance, but no, I think there's a lot of excuses being made. You don't expect an England team to lose 1-0 to Hungary, but as we'll see later, it gets even worse.
Yes, you don't really expect England to lose to Hungary 1-0, but as you just said, it does get a little bit worse. But we won't talk about that. Just stop teasing the.
Sorry.
That's right. Go ahead. Everybody knows. But also in this game, it was quite interesting because Gareth Southgate debuts to two new players in Jared Bowen and James Justin. I think Bowen, he created quite a good impression, with his unusual style, being funny enough, one of the most dangerous players on the pitch, creating some goal threats. But Justin, first half play on that left-hand side of defence, looked pretty good, but then suffered an injury and was subbed off at half-time. Dan, a sort of a disappointing debut for both the new Three Lions and Justin, and for Bowen with a losing start. But for Bowen, looked very settled in the side, and funny enough, was one of our most attacking players, which I think sort of would shock you with sort of the other players in that game. But for Justin, having a nice start, but then, as again, like he's been suffering with Leicester, injuries.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing. Not really the game you want your debut to be in, and yeah, that was massively disappointing. But it's good to see some debutants coming through and players that deserve to be there. I think Bowen has deserved his spot in that England side after the season he's had. He's had a really good season for West Ham, and yeah, it was only a matter of time, really. I think there was talk last international break. I know he said transfer window then, I don't know why. International break, that he should be in the England squad. I think it was for them friendlies against, oh God, I can't even remember now. But he didn't get in that time. But yeah, to see him here again is definitely deserved. And as you say, one of our most dangerous players on the night, even if the game was pretty awful. But for Justin as well, that's an interesting one, but he did a decent job at left back, and obviously really disappointing for him to come off at half time. That was probably really, really frustrating for him. But as you say, he looked pretty good on the left-hand side. So we got two players there that looked decent in their first game and could get some more caps along the way. So yeah, pleasing thing to see, definitely.
Yes, pleasing things from a very, very disappointing performance.
Yeah.
But right after that disappointing defeat in Budapest, it wasn't long until the next game, which was against Germany. Oh boy, help us. In Munich, only a few days after, I think 4 days after that defeat in Budapest. But Germany, they fought back to earn a draw against the European champions Italy in a new look, unbeaten Germany side under Hansi Flick. I think he's played now 11 games unbeaten for Germany. So a very tough test for the Three Lions. But on the day, Harry Kane's a late penalty rescued England their first point of the Nations League group, getting them off that 0 mark and getting them onto a 1 point. But despite conceding first in the 50th minute to Hoffman's goal, which was deflected in from Pickford as he attempted to save, a lot of people very questionable of his saving there. Dan, a point on the board for the Three Lions in the Nations League. In a performance where they showed a lot of heart, and we saw Gareth Southgate much more happy. He said he was pleased after the game with the display for large parts of it. But England once again looked like a team that was suffering from that long season that they did against Hungary, but faced that uphill battle, that task when Germany went in front. But do you feel England were more lucky to walk away with a point here? Because that penalty, yes, he makes contact, but it didn't look very convincing. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, it was good to get back in it, wasn't it, in Munich? I think we were all pleased with that, but it was a very soft penalty. I didn't think it was a penalty at the time, and they went to VAR as well and gave it. So that was an interesting one. But I mean, you've got to take it. You're not complaining when you get a penalty late on away in Germany, are you? So there was fight in the performance. It was definitely better than the Hungary game, even if it wasn't at England standards. We didn't really create much again throughout the whole game. I think Germany were definitely the team on top for a lot of the game. But when I think about it, I don't feel like they created much either. I think they had a lot of the ball, but I didn't really think they created too much. We couldn't. I don't know. It just seemed like we couldn't really get into the game until about 80 minutes, when we kind of, I think the fight came into it, and we kind of went a bit more attacking and looked like we could maybe get something from it, and we managed to get that penalty. But as you say, the tiredness was still there. The same from the Hungary game. It still looked a bit leggy throughout the game, and it's just, I think it's understandable. What the players are going through, but it's frustrating at the same time, because you want to see your England team playing well, and I just don't think you can get motivated for these games. But a decent result in way in Munich, I think, even if it wasn't the best quality game from at all, really. I mean, it didn't really seem like we were watching a Germany-England game, if I'm honest, did it really?
No, it didn't at all. And not to be rude, I completely forgot this game was on, and I started watching from the second half onwards. So, whoop-de-doo, I'm a very good England fan, But one big thing really from this game was Harry Kane. He scored a penalty, which now seen become the second player now to reach 50 goals for his club, for his country. Now putting only three goals off now the top goal scorer of all time in Wayne Rooney. Dan, it's such a big achievement here for Harry Kane. He's now only 3 goals off Wayne Rooney. Lots of time on his hands here. He could maybe set his own record, his only an unbeatable record potentially. But this shows how good of a striker he is to reach 50 goals already. Wayne Rooney in his time there only hit 53. So for Kane, he's showed how good of a striker he is. Maybe a striker that doesn't win trophies, but a striker that scores your goals.
Yeah, he's massive for England. I mean, it's a massive achievement for him to get to 50, and he's going to get past that and past Wayne Rooney's record. I mean, there's no doubt about it, is there? I mean, only 3 away at that age it's a massive achievement, and it just shows how important he is for England. And if we didn't have him, where we'd be. So yeah, I'm really happy for him, and long may it continue, because we need him so much, don't we? We really do, because after these 4 games, when you think of England without Harry Kane, where are the goals going to come from? I mean, they're not coming from anywhere else, are they?
Well, they're not coming from open play, I'll tell you that.
No, they're not.
And I want to apologise for the slight little dig there. He might win you a trophy in the future. Might do. Well, after that little trip abroad, it was time for England to come back to England to play 2 games, but not at Wembley. On tour, yes, England on tour in England, yes. And they were playing 2 games at Wolverhampton Stadium at Molineux versus Italy. And Hungary. But Saturday night, we saw England play European champions Italy. As they look to try and break this winless start, but also get some revenge on Italy after what happened in the Euro 2020 final. But this game was supposed to be played behind closed doors, but it was played in front of school children, like Hungary did, to get around the rules of playing it behind closed doors. But on the night, the Three Lions side, they failed to break down the Italy defense of 11 players, and they had made 9 changes from their game against Hungary, their win against Hungary. But then a very, very predictable game by England. They huffed and they puffed, but Italy just had a countermeasure for everything that they did. But it's a bit concerning, really, when you're playing in front of school children. When the whistle goes for full time and it finishes 0-0, they boo you off. That's a little bit concerning, I think we have to say.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it? When you think about it. But yeah, this game was just, it was awful to watch. It really was. It lacked quality. It was I thought I was going to fall asleep watching it, to be honest. It was a really poor. I feel like we could have taken advantage of this Italian side. As you say, they had 9 changes. And I mean, they looked very solid defensively, let's say, but I think we could have taken advantage of that, and we just didn't. It was really, really poor. And again, it seems like the pattern now through all of these games. We just cannot create any chances. I think I remember Harry Kane stretching for one to try and tap it in, and I don't think he started the game, did he? I think Abraham started the. I might get these mixed up. I think Abraham started.
Abraham to start.
Yeah. I think that Harry Kane chance was in the Hungary game, actually. And I'm thinking of Sterling. He missed a sitter, didn't he? He missed a tap in the back post.
He always does.
Yeah. I got that. Getting all these games mixed up. But yeah, I don't know how he missed that, to be honest. But stuff like that is the difference in a game like this, that there's nothing in it, and you get that one chance, you don't take it, and it's just so boring to watch, really. But then if Kane and Sterling aren't taking our chances, as I said before, who else is going to do it, really? So yeah, it's really, really disappointing performance again, and a very concerning, as you say. And to get booed off by school children, it's not a good look for this England side, is it?
No, it's not at all. And now we've reached the last game. That's how quickly we moved away from Italy. We now moved to the last game, which is only a few days away from after the Italy game. It was against Hungary again, and this one was played at Molineux as well. The last international game until September, as England searched that first win of the group, and it was much needed. But the last time these two sides played, Hungary came out on top thanks to that penalty in Budapest. But for England, their dismal start continued in the Nations League campaign with their worst home defeat since losing 5-1 to Scotland in 1928, as a ruthless Hungary scored 4, leaving Gareth Southgate's side rooted to the bottom of Group A3. Dan, this dismal record is continuing. 4 games, 2 points, 0 wins, 1 goal scored, and that was not even from open play. This is not what you need when you've only got now 180 minutes or 2 games of football until the World Cup starts for England.
Yeah, I mean, it really isn't what you want, is it? And this game was, I mean, I thought it couldn't get even worse than the Italy game, but this team have proved me wrong. It was dreadful and unacceptable, really. I know we say that the Nations League doesn't really matter, and all that stuff, and these players don't really care, but to lose 4-0 at home to Hungary, it's not good enough. There's always that argument that this game doesn't matter, but unacceptable. And we changed the team. There was a few players. I think Conor Gallagher came in, didn't he, to play in this game. There was a few changes. I I don't think there wasn't really a connection with these players. I thought in the other games, there were terrible performances, but I felt like, we were passing it around well and at times anyway. But these players just didn't look like they just weren't used to playing with each other, and Hungary took massive advantage of that. And I guess fair play to them, really. I mean, they came here and shocked us, and they go away with a 4-0 win at England. I'm sure they'll be remembering this for a long time. But I think it's very worrying so close to a World Cup. It makes you wonder if we're good enough. I know these players probably won't be starting in the World Cup, but you don't want to be seeing it. You really don't. But you have to remember that the motivation to these games the motivation might be affected with these players. I don't want to make excuses because it wasn't good enough, but it's the Nations League, so we'll have to wait and see with the games coming up, because I think each game now up until the World Cup is massive now, no matter what competition it's in.
Yes, every game is now massive, but the more concerning thing is there's 7 players in here who are involved in the Euro squad.
Yeah,
that's a little bit concerning. Only 4 sort of non-players are involved in that Euro squad. But the big thing is really for England that the slump has now led to that historic loss. But the pressure has been growing on Gareth Southgate from these last 4 games since that first defeat to Hungary, with lots of England fans calling for his time as the England manager to come to an end before the World Cup starts in the winter time. But we have to remember here, Dan, this is technically really his first bad run of results. If we can be perfectly honest, I don't see him actually have a bad run of results just yet for England since he took over in 2017. So this is I know it's bad. It's quite a remarkable achievement. It's taken this long to have a bad run of results. But we have to remember here is he's got England the furthest they have in the last 2 competitions. The semi-finals in the World Cup, the final in Euro 2020. Yes, it didn't go our way, but runners up in that. It seems like people have forgotten this has happened. But we have to remember here, this is just the Nations League. It's not a competition we really care about. Like we said, it's glorify friendlies with a trophy at the end. But can you understand the calls for him to go? And maybe, should he go? Potentially, maybe. Has his time come to an end, unfortunately?
It's a hard one, but I don't think it's the right time to sack him right now. I really don't. This close to a World Cup, don't get me wrong. I understand the criticisms he's getting, and I understand how frustrated people are with him at times. But as you say, he's got us to a final and a semi-final. He's one of the most successful managers we've had after Ramsey and Robson. Probably who else has got us to that far in 2 competitions? I mean, there's frustrations there, like how negative he can be at times, how many defensive players he has, and how he doesn't really change things in games that might have been, why we didn't win the Euro final and why we didn't beat Croatia in the World Cup. I mean, it really is a tough one, because I really do get why people are frustrated for him, but it's too close to a World Cup, and I think there's still a chance for him to redeem himself after these games, because as you say, they're glorified friendlies. The players don't really care about it, and even though we have just lost 4-0 to Hungary, which I think is just really, really terrible, there's still a chance to redeem that. So yeah, let's see how it goes during the World Cup. I think at this moment in time, I'm not on the Southgate out bandwagon, but if the World Cup doesn't go to plan, if we lose the 2 Nations League games and then go out in the round of 16 at the World Cup or even the group stage, then I think I'll be in the Southgate out camp. But yeah, I just don't think it's time right now.
I thought he was the one.
Maybe he is.
Maybe he is. But as you just alluded to there, Dan, there is 2 more games now to come up in the Nations League in September. These are the last 2 games before England then head to Qatar in late It's late November, isn't it? That starts.
Yes.
It's late November, yeah. I was speaking funny enough, last Friday was when actually the World Cup was supposed to start in the summer. So Qatar, don't like you. I like summer World Cups, not winter World Cups. But these two games they've got coming up, they've only now got 2 months to try and fix these problems of scoring goals and defending much better. But could these two games now here be quite pivotal? Because England just realistically, England, if they want to look convincing in the World Cup, they're going to need at least a win or 2 wins here just to show that they show intent and they're not going to look awful when they head to Qatar.
I mean, you wouldn't think these games were really important, but they really are now. I think if we don't get results in these 2 games, if we draw one and lose one or lose both of them, or even draw both of them, I don't think the confidence of the country will be as high as it has been in previous years. These Nations League games where we've not looked at it, I feel like it's going to affect us at some going into the World Cup. So these games are really important. I hope we can sort out the problems that we've got. I expect Gareth Southgate to play his strongest side in one of these games. I really do. To just as the first games before the World Cup, you need to treat them as that. So hopefully he plays his strongest side and sees, sorts out the problems that we've been facing in the last 4 games. It's concerning, but we've got time to turn it around. So fingers crossed we can do that, and let's hope for a successful World Cup, because I think we were so optimistic. I mean, if you asked me all of this a month ago, I would have been saying we're going to do so well in the World Cup. But these 4 games have kind of made us go against that, really, unfortunately. But let's see how it goes.
Yeah, so some testing times for England now. Only 2 months now until the next Nations League games will happen. Away to Italy and then at home to Germany before England jet off to Qatar in late November. And that is all for your England roundup this week as they've been on tour in the Nations League. And when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town, and we've got plenty of news from Ipswich Town. Excitement. It's kit day. Yay! We'll be back shortly.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadio. Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action with your co-host, always George. Oh, your co-host, your host, George. What's going on? Once again, it's all mucked up, Dan. It's not good. Your host, George, and my co-host, as always, Dan. There we go. We got it right now. For another week of football action. Make sure to follow us on our social medias as well. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk Underscore Pitch. YouTube Mixcolour both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to our previous shows, do not worry, they're all there on YouTube Mixcolour. But if you missed anything from today's show, us talking about England, do not worry, it'll be up on YouTube Mixcolour at 6 p.m. for you to have a listen back to. But now we're going to be doing some Ipswich Town news. Hooray! And there might be nothing happening on the pitch, but there is plenty always happening off the pitch at Portman Road for Ipswich Town. And it has been very, very, very busy, especially with the new kit day announced as well, and a new kit deal as well. Yes. Oh, double whammy. 2 new contracts signed as well. And the pre-season games have been finally announced. So we know who Town are going to be playing over this pre-season period. But first, we must talk about the new kit. And early this week, Town finally announced the long-awaited news that a new kit sponsor was going to be replacing Adidas after 8 years with Adidas. The old favourite Umbro made their long-awaited return, announcing a 4-year deal in the process with Ipswich Town. Dan, Adidas, the 8 years of, I know it sounds bad, copy and paste templates are out the door. They're out. They're gone. They're gone. Bye-bye. And welcome back, Umbro. Umbro have so much history with Town, with part of Town's dominant, successful periods in the 80s. And then sort of to the late sort of 90s, they were there as well. It's good to have the old favourite back. It just feels Umbro and at Ipswich is just what we would say a match made in heaven.
I mean, you hope so, don't you? I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have the Umbro kit and promotion back to the Championship? I mean,
Oh,
what a great thing that'd be. But yeah, it's great to see Umbro back and Adidas. I didn't mind Adidas being our kit supplier, but it just got a bit tired over a long period of time with the templates. So to have Umbro in, it's really good. And I mean, we'll talk about the kit in a second, but the new kit it's a great start. I can't wait to see what else they can do going forward, because they're really really good company to work with, I think.
yeah, but I agree with you. I didn't mind Adidas stuff. I think it's
No,
quite,
it
it's
wasn't
it's a
awful, but
nice big name to have.
yeah.
But I think when you see them announce one kit, you kind of go, "Ah, looks nice." You see them announce another kit, you kind of go, "I've seen that before somewhere, but I don't know where. I'll keep going with that." And then you see it again, you go, "Yeah, I've definitely seen that before here, and here,
Yeah.
and here, and there." Especially when they did that. Do you remember that town shirt? I think it was a few seasons back. It looked like that sort of ocean shirt, that sort of like white, a little bit of like that turquoise. That looked really nice until you saw it somewhere else. And you went,
I think it was Wolves away kit, wasn't it? I think.
"What could have been possibly?" I'm not too
Yeah,
sure, but
I think it was.
But yesterday was new kit day, and it was announced finally the home and away shirts. And oh boy, don't they look beautiful! Unique designs away from this copy and paste template. Umbro, well done. Round of applause to Umbro because they've done a fantastic job. Dan, I'm going to leave you to describe these kits here because I feel like we need the Ipswich Town's perspective here because they are beautiful. But I feel like we need you to describe how beautiful the new blue away home shirt is and the new away kit, which is now red and black.
Yeah, they're both fantastic. They're both beautiful kits. The home kit it's got an interesting design on it, but I think it's designed from part of the stadium. It's at least designed with that in thought. There's a lot of different patterns all over the kit, but it works really well. And I think it has a retro feel to it as well at the same time. And I think that's what Umbro were kind of hoping for with I think they were looking at their 90s kits that they brought out for us, and we're kind of trying to aim for that. So the home kit is really nice. It's got white ends on the sleeves as well. I think it's got red in the collar, so it looks really good. Obviously, with the Ed Sheeran sponsor, he's on for another year, which is really good to see. And the away one is equally as nice, in my opinion. Black and red stripes. I think they're narrower stripes down where the badge is, but it looks really good as well. And again, I think it's based off a 90s kit. So yeah, really, really pleased with these two kits, and they're my favorite kits we've had in such a long time. And as I say, I didn't hate Adidas, but these kits are just better than anything they've done. But that's just because these are original, and you won't see a kit like that anywhere else. It's unique to us, which is, I love that. That's really good. So yeah, really good start for Umbro, and I'm really, really happy that we have them as kit suppliers if they're going to make kits like this.
Yes, I just and they look beautiful. It's a shame that Town don't have to have a third away kit in this league because I wonder what they'll come up with. Like a unique design. Maybe, I don't know. We have had that interesting kit that you can't buy, that Adidas design, that all black kit that looked really nice.
Yeah. That did, but that was halfway through the season, wasn't it? So that was a bit of a weird one. That was.
Yeah, I think what's that for the Sheffield Wednesday game because Town couldn't play in blue or even white because of.
Oh, it might have been Wigan actually.
Or Wigan, or even Wigan. Yeah, Wigan,
yeah, one of them.
Yeah. Forgot about Wigan. But yeah, the kits are here and it looks beautiful, and it's a flashback to all the past times of Town as well. And that's what we love to see as well with the unique designs. That is what we like to see in a kit as well. But when the kit was announced in the morning, in the afternoon, we had some more good news. Pen was put to paper for one of Town's young, bright, up-and-coming stars on another 3-year deal in Elkin Baggett. He is now staying until the summer of 2025. The 19-year-old who made his highly regarded League One debut against Rotherham in April and then putting in another solid performance against Rotherham and also Charlton as well before the end of the season. Bagger has added he is excited, he is buzzing, he has signed a new contract. I want to thank the gaffer. He has really helped me improve as a player since coming in. I would also like to thank the people around me and close to me who have always given me support. My aim for next season is to play as much football as possible, whether it is here or on the right loan opportunity comes up. But also as well with Baggett locking down for another 3 years. We had another Town youngster locked down for another 3 years. Last week, it was Cameron Humphreys as well, the 18-year-old who made his senior debut against Newport in August, but then made his League One debut in April against Charlton. Famously, he assisted James Norden his last goal, which was defying the odds, a bit like a Maicon goal, really. Remember Maicon against North Korea in the World Cup? That goal, we don't know how it went from the tightest of angles. He assisted that as well. Very highly guarded player as well. But Dan, the 2 youth players are now locked down until the 2025 season. But this feels like having these 2 players now sign these contracts here. It feels like having 2 new signs for Kieran McKenna's side. But what will we see now from them? Because will we see them go out on loan and to get that experience of playing somewhere else? Or will we possibly see them stay and possibly start in the first team? Because we've seen them been pushing. We saw, at the end of the season, Baggett was getting games starting. Cameron Humphreys was on the bench, came on as well. So they're getting opportunities here. So are we going to see them feature in the Town squad a lot more next season?
I mean, I really hope so. I'd love to see both of them stay. I know loans are possible for both of them, but I think when you think about it, the three centre backs we have, Donatian, Wolfenden, and Edmondson. Who's next in line? I'd say it's probably Baggett. So if he's here for backup, then that would be great for me, because I think the 2 games that he had last season against Rotherham and Charlton, he looked like he had been playing there all season, hadn't he? So, fantastic news to get him on a 3-year deal. I think to get these deals done for youngsters who are, got good potential and looking to get into the first team, getting them done early, really good business from Mark Ashton and everyone at the club. And Baggett just has bags of potential, doesn't he? I love the look of him. He looks so comfortable on the ball. For a young guy who hasn't really played a lot of first team football, to look so comfortable on the ball, it's crazy to see. And he's doing so well for his national team as well. I think he scored for Indonesia the other day. I think they won 7-0. I can't remember who it was against, don't ask me, but they won 7-0. I know that. So yeah, I mean, really good to see him sign on a 3-year deal. And of course, Humphreys as well, who, as you say, got that assist for Norwood on the last game of the season. He looks like a massive bright spark as well. And, I think he should be, knocking on the door of the first team as well. It's going to be tougher for him, I'd say, because if a midfielder goes out injured, there's probably players above him. So I feel like he'd probably be the one that would go out on loan, but I would love to see him get a chance next year, because he looked great on that last game of the season as well. So, really, really good to see these youngsters both on 3 years as well. So they're staying, which is really, really good news.
Yep, they're here to stay, and that's what we want to do as well, because they are up and coming, and Town need that. We've not seen that from the academy, having some up and coming players who have got this much bag of potential for a long time. And that is all for your contract signs. But before we go, we better mention about the pre-season games, because finally Town announced who they'll be playing in the pre-season friendlies. They've got 5 games coming up they've got the first game, which is not far away now. Actually, it's gonna be it's gonna be a week on Saturday until they play their first game, which is against Needham Market away on Saturday lunchtime at 1 p.m. And then they've got a little bit of a break before they play West Ham at home on a Tuesday night, July the 12th. And then they'll be away to AFC Wimbledon. The heat's got to me. It's too hot. It's too hot in here. Saturday, 16th of July, and then away again the week after that to Millwall, and then at home to Southend United before then the season starts. Dan, quite a good pre-season by Town, really. Some interesting teams they've picked, but they've got mixed qualities here. They're playing a non-league side, but then playing a Europa League semi-finalist side, we have to remember here. And then playing teams that are their level, we would sort of say, with League Two and Championship. So a good preseason tour, would you say, by Town?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, as you say, teams in there that will give us some trouble and teams that we should beat, and that will show up teams that will show us what level we're at going into the start of the year. Looking forward to the West Ham one. I think we've played them in the last two pre-seasons, haven't we? And I seem to remember playing them a lot the last couple of pre-seasons. So good to see them coming down to Portman Road again. They usually sell out that whole couple stand, but it is on a Tuesday night. I forgot about that, so that we'll have to wait and see about that. But yeah, good to see these getting announced, because that means we're closer to the season starting. So interested to see Colchester in there though. That's an interesting one, isn't it? I wasn't expecting that. We're not going to be playing Colchester for once.
I'm sad. I'm sad.
Yes, I know. That gives you the chance for the whole derby thing, doesn't it?
We'll meet them in the Papa John's, I guess.
Okay.
We've still got that. You've got Papa John's in the Carabao Cup next week as well. So
yes,
but yeah, we are.
That's true.
But my one little concern is that the Southend game is on the 26th, and in 4 days out, Town are playing in the league. So.
Oh yes, I forgot we start in July, don't we? That's a bit of a different one, isn't it?
A little bit of a different one. Damn new World Cup. But yeah, that is all for your Ipswich Town news this week. And then, unfortunately, it's the end of the show this week. Yes, we ran out of time. The referee's about to blow us with full time. He won't give us any more extra time. Fergie time, unfortunately, won't work this week, he has said to me, which is a little bit annoying. But I want to thank you very much, Dan, for joining me this week. But will I see you next week, where we'll be talking about Town? We'll be talking about Town and those games. There'll be a finally announced. The league season will be here. We'll be seeing who Town will be playing first in the league season, how their league season will plan out. Carabao, Papa John's, and I don't know, transfer news maybe?
Oh, I mean, let's keep our fingers crossed for some transfer news. But it'll be good to see who we're playing to start the season. So yeah, I'll be there next week.
Brilliant. Well, Dan, I want to thank you very much for joining me on the show this week. I want to thank you very much for listening to the show this week. And before I go, Ben mentioned the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want us back to any old pre shows, do not worry. They'll be up there on YouTube and Mixcloud. And if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. It'll be up in a few minutes' time on YouTube, Mixcloud as well. Well, I have been George this week. He has been Dan as always. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
Bye.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.